binomial nomenclature. This was also introduced by Carolus Linnaeus. So these are all the subtaxons of the main taxons. In order to honor Linnaeus, scientists have put the name or the letter capital L.
Thank you for watching this video.
Foxes, such as jackals, everything that look or appear similar to dogs or have similar evolutionary characteristics of the dogs. And canis includes all animals that a dog has evolved from, like the wolves. And the last we have species, familiaris. That is only the dogs. We have excluded the foxes, the jackals, the wolves, the hyenas, everything. We have just kept the dogs. Canis familiaris. Now, have you noted something that the genus name Canis and the species name familiaris, their initials, one is capital, one is a small letter. This is how the scientific names of animals should be written. Now, what is a scientific name? What is a scientific name? Earlier in Europe, when taxonomy was getting its foothold as a major branch of biological science, people encountered a strange difficulty. In English, we call a dog as a dog, but in French, in Italian, in German, in Slavic, in Portuguese, in Spanish, we don't call a dog as a dog. They are known by their colloquial names, their local names. Now, suppose a man from Germany is traveling to, say, Brazil or Argentina, and he is referring to a dog in his own German language. Will that Brazilian or will that Argentine recognize that animal? No. Similarly, if a man from England travels to Italy and says dog, will the Italians identify? No, because they don't know English. Earlier it used to be, now everyone knows a lot of languages. You also know a lot of languages. So now it is not a problem, but earlier in the 18th century it was a big problem. So scientists devised a very ingenious way of naming animals. They said, why not name animals in Latin and Greek letters, in Latin and Greek language? Why don't we give names to animals in Latin or in Greek? Because the educated society in Europe knew Latin, knew Greek. The very famous English poet William Shakespeare wrote a lot of plays and lot of poetry in Latin language. So Latin was a very popular language, followed by Greek. Most of the Europeans, that is the elite class, the educated class, the scientist class, the philosophers, they all know Latin, they all know Italian. So we gave names to animals in Latin and Greek language. How? We took the genus name and we took the species name, we clubbed them together to get the scientific name. Scientific name of dog, Canis familiaris. The genus name is written, the first alphabet of the genus name is written in capital letters. The first alphabet of the species name is written in small letters, indicating this is the generic epithet and this is the specific epithet. This system of naming animals based on their genus and species name is called as binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature, this was also introduced by Carolus Linnaeus. He is known as father of taxonomy. Now, if we write the scientific name of humans, we see there are three parts: Homo sapiens sapiens. Students, generally the rule of writing the scientific name is in italics, but since we cannot write italics in hand, very few people can. So to make sure that the reader understands that this is the scientific name, this is the generic epithet, this is the specific epithet, we assign capital letter and small letter respectively, and also we underline them to make the reader understand that okay, this is the scientific name written in italics or should be written in italics. So in case of humans, we find there are three parts. This is known as trinomial nomenclature. This is the generic name, this is the specific name, and this is the subspecies name. Now, what is a subspecies? See, in every taxon there are subtaxons. Like kingdom, we have subkingdom. Phylum, we have subphylum. For class, we have superclass, subclass, infraclass. For order, we have superorder, infraorder, suborder. For family, we have superfamily, infrafamily, subfamily. For genus, we have the subgenus, we have species, we have the subspecies, the race, the subspecies, the clade, the race, and so on. So these are all the subtaxons of the main taxons. There are mainly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 taxons in the hierarchy system. In your books, the NCERT books or the other books, you won't find the domain. Here, kingdom is assigned as the first taxon or the first key of hierarchy. However, as you will study higher, if you go into research, if you go into your masters and other things, you will find that domain is the largest taxonomic key and species is the smallest taxonomic key based on the Linnaean hierarchy system. This is the Linnaean hierarchy, because this was invented by Carolus Linnaeus, hence he was known as the father of taxonomy. In species, we have the least similar characters with respect to all animals or all living beings, and in domain, we have the highest similar characters with respect to all animals or all living things. Okay, so this is the subspecies, the subtaxon of the main 8 taxons. Right, for subspecies, the subtaxon of the species, if we have find a subclass, for example, that would be the subtaxon of the 4th taxon class, and so on. This system of naming an animal based on generic name, species name, and subspecies name is called as trinomial nomenclature. Trinomial nomenclature. In trinomial nomenclature, the generic name, the specific epithet, or the generic epithet, the specific epithet is also followed by names of scientists. For example, there is no space here, let me write here. We can write Mangifera indica L. This L stands for the scientist Linnaeus, because he assigned the scientific name of Mangifera indica to mangoes, the mango plant. In order to honor Linnaeus, scientists have put the name or the letter capital L, Linnaeus, after the scientific name. You don't have to write the entire lineus, you just write a capital L and put a full stop after that. But since the name lineus is not a subspecies, okay, uh, we don't need to write it in Latin, we don't need to write it in italics, and also we don't need to underline it. So L is not underlined, it is just L dot, capital L dot, signifying it is lineus. Or you can write lineus like this, but you don't need to underline it. Just write Mangifera indica, underline it, and just write lineus and then put a full stop. Don't need to underline lineus. This is the trinomial nomenclature. So I hope you understand the various schemes by which we can classify animals based on their evolutionary characters of from highest similarity to lowest similarity, dividing them into number of taxons and subtaxons, and also binomial and trinomial nomenclature.